Well, hello everyone. I'm Dale Delbert, Benchmark Realty, Murfreesboro, Tennessee. It is Friday, August the 14th, and that means it's time for your status chat. Now, I have your numbers here, but before we get to them, I do want to point out that on our next episode of Dale and Special Guest, we have Jason LaMarca from Arrow Exterminators out of Georgia. He is an associate entomologist who has probably worked every aspect of that business for several decades, and we're going to talk about wood destroying insects, because one of the things I like to use the term wood destroying insects. In Georgia and some of the lower states where it's warmer, the dominance may be termites, but in Tennessee we have other bugs that can eat your house, and they might find it just delish. So we're going to have him on, and we're going to talk about wood destroying insects. You'll want to tune in, sign up for this YouTube channel so you'll be notified when we go live. When we have it, I'll probably put a promo out when we get the specific time and date. Now let's get right to our numbers. We've been tracking the availables and the under contracts and getting a ratio between it, just to keep a little quick down and dirty number so that we can look at it and see what's going on in terms of basically the supply and the demand. Because the under contracts give us the demand and the supply is done by the availability. So last week we had 7149 active in the system, and which was down from the previous week, and then we have 4765 inactive under contract, which was down from the previous week, for a ratio between those two of 67%, and that remained unchanged from the week prior to it. Now this week we had 6925 active in the system, which is down in inventory. The inventory is down, and 4902 under contract, which is actually up. And the ratio is one I've never seen since I started doing these status chats for you, at 71%. So they're selling. Now, if you remember back in the tragedy days of the housing collapse, a lot of people ended up losing their houses, and people were able to, those who could afford it came in and scoffed up some bargains. And I told you 6 months or more ago, whenever it was, that if you were expecting that to repeat itself, it was not going to happen. Of course, we had Dodd-Frank and many other things go in the system to change that from happening. And this is a false drop caused by this virus thing. We were going great guns before, and we're still going great guns. It's a great time to list your house. Dale Delbert's Benchmark Realty, Murfreesboro, Tennessee. If you're currently unrepresented and would like to know how to compare up to 3 properties side by side, room by room, then go over to my new YouTube channel, subscribe while you're there, watch the demo. Afterwards, get with me and we'll set up your exclusive account today. So we've looked at our numbers. We've talked about the upcoming show, Dale and Special Guest. Now I want to do something that I've never done before in a status chat. I'm going to show you a little inside peek at some internal documents. Now, I've been given permission to do this, so I'm not doing anything sneaky, but I'm going to show you some of the numbers that help me understand better what's going on, because with Benchmark, we are Benchmark. So what do you say we look at this one right here? I'm going to pull it up. Back in the day, I think this was back from somewhere around April, we had the projections coming from the big banks, the money people in the United States, Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, Morgan Stanley, and they were all saying, this is an interruption, a false interruption. We're going great guns. The economy is in great shape under the leadership. This is going to be down and right back up. So the question was, are we going to have a U-shaped, long and protracted return, or are we going to have a down and right back up? Well, they successfully drug the Ronatics, the Ronopolitics out, so that we have extended a little bit. So we went down fast, but we're also coming out pretty quick. Maybe we're a little flatter coming out than we were projecting in April, but we're still coming out very sharp. And I'm not just making this up, I'll show you in just a second. So we want to look at that slide. Let's move to the next one. I want to point out that one of the features that makes this environment different than it was in 08 and 010, that era, is right now we have 53, almost 54% of Americans have at least half of their house paid off. Now, some of that's from the rise in home value, and others because they've paid it off, and we're not borrowing against, We're not doing HELOCs. We're not doing the home equity line of credits and mortgaging our most precious possession, which is our house, for credit cards and other things of this nature. So we're not putting our home in jeopardy like we did when it all collapsed previous to this. And it also means that 37%, according to Bloomberg, 37% of all Americans actually own their home outright, no mortgage. And that's a tremendous amount of equity that the people have. Now, if you'd like to be somebody who has some home equity, you need to buy a house. Now, I'm just the one to help you out with that. But they put the money in there. It's still there. They haven't been drawing on it like a little fund-day supply of cash. They're actually holding on to that value. And if that's going to help move some of these transactions, because when we sell one house and they move up or perhaps move down, they'll end up with the proceeds necessary to have some flexibility. And that's a great position to have, which is different than it was back in the days of the crash. So again, if you're waiting on bargains, you might be waiting for quite a while. And that's one of the reasons why I give you those inventory numbers on the first of every status chat. Now, we also realize a lot of people remain kind of scarred over this. They're a little antsy. My father and mother were of the Depression era. And they were some of those people who always held on to everything because they didn't know when disaster was striking. And it served them well. And I think we're getting some of that benefit of this relearned thing that we've just learned again from history. So, now let me show you this one. This is the big issue is credit right now, because with jobs being insecure and funds being interrupted, people's living funds being interrupted, we have tightened up on the credit. We've talked about that too. So if you can get a loan, it's great. The rates are low. You just have to be able to qualify for it. And the question is, are the number of houses being sold, are those people able to get credit for it? Well, they must be, because we're at 71% active under contract to the availability. So we're still going good. Perhaps it's not you at this moment, but we'll get you there. Just hang in there, hang with Dell, and we'll get you going. Now, I go through the credit scores and that sort of thing, but I want to skip right down here and talk about some monies. I have here a slide of the U.S. existing home sale. I guess there's two things. There's the bar graph, and then there's a year over year. Now I have another one that's very similar in that, which is the pending home sales, and they're very similar shape. March, kind of in that area, did take a little bit of a dip, but you'll see it didn't last long. And that's what Benchmark's telling you. That's what Dell's telling you. We're not going to hit the skids like we did in 08 through 010, those areas. And the home price. Now this is one that I want to share with people, and I'd like to have this up here for just a little bit of a moment, let this sink in. Now, during the very depth of Rona, we did see that little carryover that dipped it down a little bit as people were trying to feel their way through this crisis. But it's bouncing right back up, just like it was. Supply and demand, you can't beat it. How much did toilet paper start going for when it started flying off the shelf? And hand sanitizer, it's supply and demand. So it's a great time. I mean, I know people are hurting. You may be hurting, and I'm not insensitive to that. Credit may be your biggest issue right now, but homes are moving. Let me take you to another slide. Now this is one I've been talking about, which is the inventory. This is a 2-year view, last year and this year, and we can see how that's going. We're still low, but we're beginning to come back up. On average, we're coming back up. Now I show you the pendings in here as well, I think. Okay, now I want to show you some numbers, and I'm not going to go quarter to quarter. I'm going to skip through a lot of this internal document, and I'm just going to go right down to July of this year. Now this slide represents our Benchmark's 12-year history. I think they've been in business. I wasn't with them from the beginning, but 12 years I think Benchmark's been in business. And this is the best, most productive year we've ever had. There were 358 $2.8 million worth of real estate transactions going through this company. If you want a company that can market your home and get the job done, Benchmark is it. And if you're in my area, I would be pleased to be the one who solves your problems, your fears, your needs. Call me. Call Del to sell. We have $358.8 million of transactions, and that breaks down to a 24% change over the same period, July of 2019. Now this is, and Rona has been going on the whole time. If you need to move your house, we'll get her done. So I got one more slide I want to show you. And this may come across as braggadocious, but I had very little to do with this. I'm just one of many agents for Benchmark. But I want to show you what the company has done. There's a reason why Benchmark leaves. First of all, we don't hire newbies. We don't get the ones straight out just with their license. They have to have some kind of experience, something that sets them apart and above the average. And I'd like to think that I fit in there as well. So Benchmark's July total closings were 1059. That's how many on either side put together, the buyers or sellers. We had 1059. In the Greater Nashville Real Estate Association, Realtors Association, the total closings were 4703, which gives Benchmark alone, this one company, this one local veteran-owned company, 22.6% of the market. And that's power that nobody else can match. But Benchmark doesn't, and Del can do that too. You just got to call Del to sell. And I wish you a great and glorious weekend, and I hope everything goes out. Stay tuned. Sign up for the subscribe, as they call it on YouTube, for the new channel that we're watching right now, and pick up on these new shows that we're laying down. I work hard to bring you some of the best content. I want to bring you content that you may not find other places. I want to help you in that regard. And Jason is an excellent man. I've met him, I've talked to him. He is a knowledgeable person. And if you want to learn about wood destroying insects, tune in for our next episode of Del and Special Guest. Thank you. Have a blessed day.